Tonight, Health Canada officially approves its first vaccine for children.
I'm really happy about it, and my kids are happy too.
Kids ages 5 to 11 in Toronto will be able to get the Pfizer vaccine in less than a week, with 20,000 spots opening up in the first 10 days alone. Plus,
it means we can have more family time.
Canadians who want to go on short trips to the U.S. will no longer need to get a pricey PCR test upon return. And that's good news for many, but for business owners on this side of the border, the change just doesn't go far enough. And
we're at a point where we don't know where to turn, we don't know where to buy, we don't know what to do.
Construction is underway for a new condo development in Barrie, but dozens of buyers who invested early may never be able to call it home unless they pay more, a lot more. Good evening, I'm Kelda Yoon. It's a long-awaited milestone in the pandemic. Health Canada has officially approved its first vaccine for children ages 5 to 11. Now here in the GTA, health units are gearing up to administer those doses in less than a week. Lisa Shing has more on the rollout.
In the next week or two, it won't just be adults and kids ages 12 and up heading here to get their jab.
It's important to get vaccinated because it's coronavirus and you can get a little bit safe from the vaccine.
I'm really happy about it, and my kids are happy too.
Because we have to. It's same like a flu shot, you know. If we are getting flu shot every year, why not the COVID vaccine?
Health Canada has approved kids ages 5 to 11 for the Pfizer-BioNTech vaccine, and doses will become available very soon. The province is opening up online bookings early next week at mass immunization clinics. And Toronto Public Health is making 20,000 spots available between November 25th and December 5th at city-run clinics. That's at the Metro Toronto Convention Centre, Woodbine Mall, Scarborough Town Centre, Cloverdale Mall, and Mitchellfield Arena. Durham Region will start opening bookings on Monday. Now, it's not just through city and provincial sites. Doctors' offices, hospitals, and schools will also be vaccinating kids. But not everyone is lining up just yet.
I really don't accept it because I feel these kids are too young for the strange vaccine adults are taking.
Children should get vaccinated, but not under 12 years.
The data has shown all along that COVID hits children a lot less than the general public.
Canada's top doctor says that's not the case anymore.
Children 5 to 11 generally get milder illness. Some of them may be asymptomatic, but some of them will get severely sick, and some of them might develop severe outcomes.
The province says it's working with Ottawa to finalize details on when the shipments of the vaccine will arrive. Lisa Shake, CBC News, Toronto.
High school students will be returning to their normal timetables. We're getting more reaction today to the province's decision to scrap the quadmester in high schools. That means the end of tackling only 2 subjects at a time in much longer classes. Lorenda Redicott has more.
Some students at this Mississauga high school are happy with the coming change.
Oh, I love that.
Why?
These semesters have been so different, just like getting used to them.
I'm really excited. Overall, this half on, half off with each course is hectic. It's too much sitting in one classroom for 2.5 hours.
The system was added to keep cohorts smaller during the pandemic. The education minister says due to vaccination rates, it's no longer necessary. But some students worry about yet another change.
So stressful for students because we're already so stressed out, and then they're adding everything on top of this with regular semesters.
My friends and I were all in grade 12, and we need to start preparing for university, and having this many changes is really affecting our education and our knowledge with the subjects.
Their school board says it welcomes the announcement and will work with local public health to identify the safest way to implement the directive. The compressed schedules have been widely unpopular.
Chronic fatigue, feeling overwhelmed, not enough time to learn the subject matter.
The Toronto District School Board is one that had already moved to a modified semester this fall after students expressed frustration with quadmesters, meaning 2 courses one week and 2 the next. But those also aren't seen as ideal.
Students are forgetting, and the teachers are assigning work for the week that they don't have class in that subject while they're taking class in the other 2 subjects. So they're getting double the amount of work, it seems.
Now all high schools will move to semesters in February at the latest.
I mean, I know that there seems to be a collective sigh of relief.
This postdoctoral researcher has interviewed teachers about pandemic education.
They were worried about absences. If students weren't there for a day, it meant that they really fell behind with content.
She wants one more change, the end of the hybrid model, with a teacher instructing students both online and in person at the same time. Lorenda Redekop, CBC News, Toronto.
Some good news for Canadians looking to take a quick trip south of the border to see family and friends. It will soon become more convenient and cheaper to do so. The federal government officially announcing today, starting at the end of the month, travelers will no longer need to provide a negative PCR test when returning to Canada if they've only been out of the country for 72 hours or less. Dahlia Ashry has more.
Starting November 30th, it's going to cost Canadians a lot less to make a quick trip across the border.
Canadians taking short trips of less than 72 hours outside of Canada will be able to return to Canada without having to take a molecular test.
A sigh of relief for Casey Bouchain.
That's exciting. It means we're one step closer to kind of getting our normalcy back.
Bouchain lives in northwestern Ontario near the border town of Fort Frances. She's an American who's been living in Ontario for 15 years. She hasn't been back to the States to see her family in over a year. The cost of the PCR test was a major factor.
The test, that's a big expense if you're looking at staying for 4 days, 5 days. That's a lot. And depending on the size of your family, you really have to budget for that.
She's also looking forward to crossing the border for more mundane tasks.
I look forward to it. Just simple grocery shopping. It's the small things you really got to appreciate now.
The Buffalo Niagara region estimates over $20 billion has been lost in the last 20 months. The Buffalo's Walden Galleria a hotspot for weekend travelers looking forward to seeing more Canadian holiday shoppers this year.
There is so much pent-up energy for Canadians to cross that border. With the holidays approaching, that's just going to be another boost to our overall economic arm.
But here at home,
it's somewhat worrying.
The Fort Frances Chamber of Commerce says businesses are still reeling from the pandemic.
We're really pushing shop local right now, hoping to have, our businesses in our community and our district be shopped for Christmas and to get our economy back up and running.
But she thinks the change doesn't go far enough.
On one hand, it's wonderful. I'm so happy to see it happen. I just wish that they would have opened the border also to U.S. citizens without having to have the PCR test to come over.
As for Bouchain, the change doesn't come in time for American Thanksgiving long weekend, but she's looking forward to the big holiday that comes right after that.
I'm just excited Christmas is a possibility now without having so many steps to going down.
Dahlia Ashry, CBC News, Toronto.
After months of deadly protests, farmers in India celebrating a major victory tonight. The country's prime minister is reversing his efforts to change 3 significant farm laws. The news has translated to cautious optimism for many here in the GTA.
It's a monumental victory. It's an unprecedented victory, and especially in terms of politics in India. But there's still a lot of work to be done here.
Protests against the laws have taken place across the world over the past year, with many in the GTA telling us they won't breathe a sigh of relief until the laws are officially withdrawn. Meteorologist Colette Kennedy joins us now with a first look at the forecast. And Colette, a pretty chilly day, but that's normal for this time of year.
Well, Kelda, in terms of our temperatures, this is kind of more like it, more seasonal, with the daytime highs a little on the cool side there in Kitchener, but Toronto right to 6 degrees, Hamilton 4, and St. Catharines and Windsor at 6 degrees as well. And we do have another system approaching. It is going to have an impact on the weekend, but it's going to be late into the weekend. So we're going to deal with a lot of cloud cover, but in terms of precipitation, that should hold off. Now, there's one little but, and that's with a slight chance for getting some light showers or mixing with a bit of light flurry activity, and that's as we go through the day tomorrow. So watch, I'll show you. Into southwestern Ontario, we get into this risk as this is going to be coming in, so that's late afternoon. See that pushing through, a greater chance there around Sarnia up towards Goderich, and then east of the GTA or in eastern sections of the GTA, Saturday night, a little blip possible there. Otherwise, it's cloud cover we'll be dealing with, and then the rain that's going to come in late Sunday, and I'll tell you all about that coming up. First of all, though, a look at your temperatures tonight and for tomorrow.
All right. Thanks so much, Colette. Police have charged a Burlington man in a crash that killed a Toronto couple last month. 69-year-old Fatima Avila and her 71-year-old husband Valdemar were both killed when their car was hit by a speeding BMW. It happened on Parkside Drive near Spring Road on October 12th. Today, police charged Artur Kotula of Burlington with 2 counts of criminal negligence causing death in connection with the crash. The 38-year-old was scheduled to make a court appearance this morning. Staff at a used car dealership in Brampton say they're still shaken after a brazen theft last week. And they aren't the only ones. As Talia Ricci reports, car thefts are up across the GTA, and experts say the pandemic might have something to do with it.
Within just a few seconds, this car on the lot of 22G Auto Sales was gone. The suspect driving erratically over the curb onto a busy street, just missing another car.
I was inside. The sales girl, she was standing here.
Staff were stunned. They'd never experienced a theft like this before.
We were really shocked for that. Like, it happened in the daylight at 1 p.m. This thing is happening.
Ravleen Kaur says they called police. No arrests have been made, but Peel police say they're investigating.
It affects us psychologically too, right? Because if the sales girl was standing in front of the car, and if he had that intention that he wants to take the car, he could have drove off her.
According to police data, both Peel Region and Toronto have seen an increase in the number of vehicles stolen in 2021 compared to last year.
Where the market is for those vehicles.
This former police chief believes there are a few factors influencing the crimes.
Supply chain, supply and demand, but also I think we'd have to safely assume that there is a degree of organization associated with this. Most likely not a crime of opportunity.
Data collected by Autotrader.ca shows the average price of a used car in Canada is nearly 20% higher than it was last year, due to the pandemic, a microchip shortage, and consumer demand.
The cycle of increasing car thefts, we've seen it in the past. Years ago.
Kaur says their policy never allowed customers to move the cars from the lot, but now they won't be able to turn on the ignition either. She worries about this type of crime continuing to rise.
How are they getting this courage that they can steal, they can do the crimes in the daylight?
Talia Ricci, CBC News, Brampton.
Construction is underway for a new condo development in Barrie. But for dozens of buyers who invested early, they may never be able to call it home. CBC Toronto has spoken to multiple owners who say the developer, out of nowhere, canceled their sales agreements, saying it needs more money to cover pandemic-related costs. Samantha Beatty has this exclusive report.
So we purchased over here.
This Barrie construction site is where Soraya Palma thought her first home would be built.
So we were actually one of the units over here where they're building.
Now it's a lost opportunity.
To add $100,000 on a home, it's not pennies. So I'm unfortunately going to have to walk away from the deal and now have to look for something that I can afford.
She signed an agreement in March 2020, but last week Palma and dozens of other Phase 1 buyers received a letter from the developer saying the project was challenged by COVID-19 and their contracts would be canceled. The letter came as a complete surprise to buyers Margaret and John Ginoli, who bought in 2018 and expected to move in last year.
They're taking advantage of the housing market, but I don't think it's right. They expect us to honor our contract. We expect them to honor theirs. right?
Home prices have skyrocketed in Barrie. When Pace first started selling the units in 2017, the average price was just over $500,000. That's increased to nearly $900,000 this fall. The developer is continuing construction here and plans to sell the Phase 1 units at a higher price. It says it's necessary to cover increased costs related to the pandemic. In a statement to CBC News, Pace Development says, the delays in municipal approvals, coupled with unprecedented escalating costs of raw materials and labor due to COVID, upwards of 60% in some cases, has been incredibly challenging to navigate. The Home Construction Regulatory Authority encourages buyers to file a complaint.
In fact, we issued an advisory about that in April to let builders know that we had expectations around their conduct in that regard and that we expected them to treat purchasers with honesty and integrity.
Real estate experts say the developers usually have the upper hand. That's little consolation for Palma.
All the sacrifices that we've made have gone for nothing. So we're at a point where we don't know where to turn.
She says she has no choice but to start her search again. Samantha Beatty, CBC News, Toronto.
Welcome back. As the days get colder, it can be a challenge for some to find winter gear that fits properly. That's especially true for people with limb differences. A Toronto designer is hoping to change that, and it's making a difference for some kids.
So Nathaniel was born without a right hand. His forearm is a little bit shorter than his other forearm, and he's got small little, they call them nubbins on the end of his arms. He's got
My friend called these baby nubbins.
Baby nubbins, yeah. So kids have names for them.
My kids call them baby fingers.
Baby fingers, yeah.
Finding just the right fit can be challenging and expensive.
When Nathaniel was becoming a toddler and my family, we were all struggling with how do we help him have his arms stay warm and being able to play outside and, just have fun. And then take it on again. It was really, really great too because she provides the mitten, the custom mitten, at no extra cost. So, the cost of trying to alter clothing and, apparel for anybody, it's pretty expensive.
There's a special collection just for kids with limb differences. It's called the Get In Project, each custom made to suit a kid's individual need.
I met a doctor who works at Sick Kids. She's a hand surgeon, she's expert. And she was like, oh yes, people with limb differences are maybe a little extra sensitive. They get cold faster. So the mittens really matter. And then I was talking to parents and they said, oh yes, and sometimes if they're wearing a prosthetic, the prosthetic can get moist. So it's really important to have wicking fabrics, all these sort of different things that just was oh. But when someone tells you, it's no, I can do that, I can help you. I'd love to help you. I want to be able to accommodate as many people as possible. So they come to me and so I try and help them in their best. Only humility and just thank you for seeing me. People send me these notes and they make me cry. People send me pictures of their kids opening their packages, and little kids, they put them on, they sleep with them, they do the thing that little kids do when they put mittens on, they clap their hand. I don't know what that is. It's visceral little kid thing where they're doing this, and that's what I get, and it just fills me up.
And we'll have more on the Get In Project this weekend on Our Toronto. That's at noon on Saturday and Sunday and 11 a.m. on Monday. A live look at our city skyline tonight. Partly cloudy tonight and overnight. Currently, it's 4 degrees in the city, but feeling like 0. Let's go back to Colette now with a look at your extended forecast. And Colette, how's the weekend looking?
Hey, Kelda. Well, as we look into the weekend, it's looking actually pretty good. And what I mean by that is just having dry conditions to be able to get outside and get some fresh air and enjoy ourselves, and temperatures near seasonal. That's what we have in store. There is going to be some wet weather coming, but it holds off till the latter part of the weekend. So temperatures are seasonal Saturday. Even though we're going to have a lot of cloud cover, there'll be some sunny breaks. They're going to be kind of hard to find. Sunday, we actually may see more sunny breaks. That's earlier in the day. Clouds fill back in, and then late day, we'll find that rain pushing in. That'll be a little sooner for southwestern Ontario, closer to the lunch hour. And then for Monday, as colder air filters in, some of that leftover precipitation turning to some wet flurries, but it'll be more than just wet flurries. We're talking about the lake effect machines cranking up again there in the lee of Lake Huron and around Georgian Bay. So think Sunday into Monday, things get a little bit trickier there, and the roads are going to be slower to maneuver. So here we are looking at that cloud cover. Now, where you escape it and get more sunshine is Kingston on towards Brockville, Cornwall, towards the nation's capital. You'll see a little more to start the day, and a few spots in southwestern Ontario. This is a slight chance of very light precipitation that's going to push in tomorrow afternoon. So a greater chance for Sarnia, lesser for Windsor. And watch how this kind of dries up as it's pushing into central Ontario, and then a little bit of redevelopment there just to the east of the downtown core, and that's later into the evening hours. Now Sunday, this is where I'm saying we have lots of areas where we'll get some sun, starting things off quite pleasantly. Unfortunately, into the afternoon for the GTA, and like I said, midday for you back there in southwestern Ontario, getting into the wet weather there. A look at tonight's readings. Windsor tomorrow up to 6 degrees, about a 30% chance for Windsor and Leamington of getting into the wet conditions. And tonight, -3, Hamilton, -2 for you in Markham. And then tomorrow up to 6 degrees, 7 for Sunday. So it's a little warmer, but then as that colder air filters in, we'll find really cool night Monday into Tuesday, and also getting into some of those wet flurries in the GTA, Kelda.
Thanks so much, Colette. Finally tonight, the festive spirit is alive at the Toronto Zoo with the launch of its holiday marketplace.
This seemed like a great opportunity to capitalize on some holiday fun, and we've got festive decor and photo ops for people. We have amazing vendors, so it's great to shop local and support our local communities, especially in days like these.
This is the second year for the event. It runs Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays for most of December. Over the course of the month, some 90 vendors and artisans will be setting up shop. And that is our show for you tonight. Thank you so much for watching. Before you go, we'll leave you with a look at the Eaton Center's 108-foot Christmas tree. Yet another sign the holiday season is on its way. Have a great weekend, everyone.